Hey, what's up, everybody? You know, after watching certain events this past week on certain favorite shows of mine, I've been thinking about doing this for quite some time. You know, I like to always tell people that when it comes to talking like I am now, that I am a shooter. I basically say what's on my mind, and I say it, and I'm done with it. Well, that's what I'm going to do here, folks. I'm going to shoot. And I'm going to shoot, if you will, on two individuals. Excuse me. On two individuals that write for one of my favorite comic books currently out right now. And those individuals that I want to talk about go by the name of Ken Penders and Ian Flynn. You know, Ken Penders, I will say this. He brought a lot to the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book. He brought a lot of memorable stories. Endgame definitely on top. Op is probably the most memorable that he did. But then, Ken Penders decides, or Archie Comics or whoever's at fault at this, decides that after the false marriage that Sally had to evil Antoine, or Patch, that was null and void at the end, whoever's at fault at this decides that that would be Ken Penders' last story. And now, technically about 5 years later, Ken Penders decides he wants to sue Archie Comics, Sega of America and Japan, and even EA, Electronic Arts. And why does he want to sue them? He wants to sue them because he feels he's not getting credit for his characters being used or his stories that are being referenced. And also because he feels that EA, along with Sega, stole his idea when they released Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. Alright. First of all, why in the hell would you, Ken Penders, decide to finally file a lawsuit against a company that you hadn't worked for 5 years? And most importantly, why would you file a lawsuit against a gaming company, two gaming companies to be exact, when you know that it could be just a losing battle? You know, I guess that's what they mean by people being desperate for money. Now, I'm not saying that Ken Penders doesn't have any right in what he says. He has all the right in the world to say that this is all legal, this is all true, that it's copy infringement, or copyright infringement. But Ken, if you knew this was going to happen, why in the world did you let it happen? Why didn't you, right off the bat, do what you said you did, but obviously there's no proof of it? Why didn't you copyright your stories and the characters you created? I mean, Ken, if I was you and I knew I was leaving the book, I would have added in my contract, if you will, if there was one signed like you said there was, I would have added in my contract a stipulation that when I'm gone and my characters are still being used, that no matter how many times you use them, I get paid no matter what. I mean, folks, doesn't that make more sense? Wouldn't that make more sense? I mean, come on. Come on. I know some people, I know other comic book writers out there have done similar things. Things to get money, but come on. And then Ken Penders comes out and says that he's going to produce his own Dark Legion, his own Echidna Knuckles stories and all that. Okay. Here's a question. Here's a question. When and where will they be released? Because Ken Penders has been saying this for months, for years, and yet we've seen no evidence. When and where is what I'd like to know. And then we go to Ian Flynn. Now, believe it or not, I actually have a lot of respect for Ian. Despite the fact that Ian Flynn has banned me from his site, from his website and his message boards multiple times over. And why has he banned me? For what is called ban jumping. Basically, folks, I've been going under different aliases, if you will, and trying to say my piece on his website. Or on his forums, anyway. Now, again, as much as I respect the guy as a fellow Sonic fan that has achieved his dream to be the writer of the comic, what I don't get, Ian, is where's freedom of speech? Where's the freedom of speech, Ian, when you tell people that they can say what they want? When message boards get created, a majority of the time you could say whatever you want on those. You could talk about whatever you want as long as it has to do with whatever you're writing about or whatever the message board is based on. And yet, you want to ban people like myself? For what reason? Because we're getting too close to the truth? Is that it? I mean, Ian, I can understand, and I'm pretty sure everybody else listening to this can understand, that you want to help introduce newer readers to the characters. We understand that with this whole Genesis arc, that's your intention. We can understand that you're trying everything in your power to throw people off. But Ian, if you know deep in your heart that there are going to be fans out there, people out there that will probably figure out what's going to happen in the next issue or so, or what's going to happen throughout the entire story arc, then why bother writing something like that? I mean, I'm not saying that Genesis won't be good. I believe it will be. But why write something like that? I mean, why go into it the way you did? I mean, do you not realize, do you, Ian Flynn, not realize the people that you have pissed off? The fans? I mean, take a look at the letters page at the end of 226. I mean, I'm pretty sure you contributed in some of the answering of those questions. But come on, Ian. How gullible do you think some fans are? I mean, I'm not saying that you can't pull off surprises. You can't pull a rabbit out of your hat. You can't shock us, if you will. Because you have proven that you can do that. I mean, Sonic Universe, the Silver Saga that you did, is just an example. I mean, you took Lawler Sue, Jana Ka, and you turned her into the first ever female Urajek, but an angelic, good female Urajek. And that really caught people off by surprise, but come on. Just because you could do that once in a while doesn't mean you can keep doing that. And Ian says he's a Sonic Sally fan, according to other fellow fans. That he supports the characters. He supports the pairing. Well, if he does, then as many people put it, why in the world would he put them together and then apparently try to kill one off, supposedly, at the end of the anniversary issue? Suspense? And why hold off on finding out what's really going to happen till October? Suspense? Edginess? No, Ian. No. What it is you're just doing this again for the newer readers. And that's not a problem. But if I was you, Ian Flynn, if I was you, and if I was Archie Comics, and I was Sega of America, and Sega of Japan, and Sonic Team, you know what I would do? I would do what a lot of comic book people have done, a lot of comic book publications have done. Yeah, you have two successful running comics as we speak, the main comic and Universe. But for Genesis, I would have made it its own separate comic. For 4 separate months, for 4 separate issues, individual, separate from the main comic, separate from Universe, make it its own comic so that at least that can introduce the fans to what's going on. But, Ian, you have your reasons. We'll just have to respect that. But, let me ask you this. What is going to happen if you have decided, if you have and will decide to pull the trigger and do the unthinkable? What will you do? What will Archie Comics do? I mean, there have been many comic books that have pulled the trigger and killed off some certain characters. But what are you going to do when you hear the fans knocking your door down? I'm sure a lot of fans right now are knocking down your email box, your Bumble King forum boxes, everything like that, cornering you at conventions, cornering you at the Summer of Sonic, cornering you possibly at the Comic-Con the next few weeks. And they're going to be looking you dead in the eye, and they're going to be asking, what are you thinking? It's true, Ian. They're going to be asking you that. What are you thinking? They're going to want answers. You're going to have a line of fans, Ian. Probably not just at the Summer of Sonic, which you probably already had, or any other Sonic convention. But you're probably going to have a line long at the Comic-Con in San Diego, and they're going to be asking you the same damn thing. What are you thinking? What's going on? Give us some damn straight answers. Because right now it seems everything's okay, but they still want answers. And believe me when I say that some people are not patient people. You know, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to knock down your door and ask for straight answers. No. Now, I'm the kind of guy that's just going to wait patiently and see what happens. Because like they say, if you screw this up, you screw it up. If you don't, and you achieve something, and you actually make something worth what you say it's going to be worth, then congratulations, you've done just that. But ask yourself this, Ian. Do you want to leave a legacy similar to Ken Pender's? Or do you want to achieve better than that? And ask yourself this as well. Whatever head writer takes over for you when you step down, do you want them to inherit a mess? Do you want them to inherit problems? Or do you want them to inherit a comic that they can write straightforward without anybody questioning their integrity, questioning what they're thinking, and not having to knock down their doors? Because Ian, I know You have come out and you straight out said you're trying to satisfy everybody, but you can't. And I know you're trying to do that with this Genesis arc. Will you succeed? That is the question. Will you make Genesis bomb or will you make it succeed? Will you make Genesis a nominee for the Raspberry Awards, or will you make it like a nominee for Best Picture at the Academy Awards? That's up to you, Ian. Do you really want to follow in the footsteps of a Ken Penders, or do you want to succeed? Do you want to prove people wrong? You know, if I was you, Ian, I'd come out here on the YT, YouTube, Daily Motion, whatever you want to call it. And after Genesis is all said and done, through audio or through straight video, I would tell the fans why I did it. I would tell fans, man to man, fellow fan to fellow fan, why I wrote the story the way I did. So Ian, it's up to you. I'm just shooting with you here, Ian. I'm shooting with you and everybody else hears it. You got to make up your mind. What's it going to be? And Ken Penders, I'm shooting with you, man. You better get your priorities straight and realize that what you're trying to do is a losing effort. If you want to work again, call Archie Comics up, drop the case, and if I was you, I'd go back to them and work alongside Ian to help improve these stories. So shooting with both of you, and you fans, followers, subscribers can hear me say this. You guys got a lot to think about. What your legacy is going to be. Do you want to succeed from the previous? And do you want to end up with egg on your face for trying to file something that may not win in the long run? And I'm just straight shooting with you guys, and that's all I'm going to say.